And if you're just joining, you're watching Daybreak, reaching you live from the nation's capital in Abuja. And now we'll be going into another discussion on the program, talking about what we now call small political parties. Elections constitute an important element in liberal democracy. Now, they are a viable means of ensuring the orderly process of leadership succession and change, and they are instrument of political authority and legitimation. Now, Nigeria's political space has been bustling since the conversation around 2023 general elections started. Some prominent politicians from the major political parties, All Progressives Congress and the People's Democratic Party, for instance, have since declared their intention to contest for the highest office in the land, and that is the office of the president. However, some less popular political parties, who some say only resurface during elections, are beginning to emerge. Now, some of the political parties that participated in the 2019 general elections and are less visible today include, but not limited to, African Action Congress, Action Alliance, Alliance for New Nigeria, New Nigeria People's Party, among others. What will be the impact of these lesser well, not lesser, but smaller political parties on the political output, ahead of the 2023 general elections? We have in the studio a presidential hopeful in the person of Prince Adewale Adebayo, and he is an aspirant from the platform of multi-party coalition for New Nigeria. Good morning. Welcome to Daybreak.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Welcome to the program.
Yep.
Well, I mean, we've always had these discussions about, political parties who are not so very popular and the role that they play in our politics. I recall back in 2019, we had about over 70 political parties in that election. Yet, at the end of the day, what we saw, the dominant ones, the PDP and the APC, took most of the seats in a lot of the states. A lot of people have said INEC shouldn't even be registering some of these political parties. Deregister them. They have no significance and all of that. Maybe you tell us, what's the significance of having this multiplicity in terms of political parties?
Okay, you see, political parties are not the beginning of democracy. The beginning of democracy is the people. So parties don't form themselves. People come together and form political parties. And what you see as the problem of the political party system is the problem of people's lukewarm embrace of democracy. The APC is the only political party that has been formed since the military left and has been able to take over power. Prior to that, the PDP was formed by the military when Absalami was doing the transition. And then there was AD, and there was the APP, which later became ANPP. Now you can see that ANPP is gone, AD is gone, and only PDP survived because they were in power. And APC was formed by some opposition people and some people from CPC and some people from who call themselves New PDP.
And the ANPP also.
Yeah, and the ANPP and all of them. Now, you can see that they now are trying, they have internal schism and all these problems that shows to you that in politics, you cannot do democracy alone. You have to combine with people. So what the new smaller parties are doing now is also negotiating among themselves, realizing that when you are small, when you are splintered, you cannot have the momentum in a federation of our size. And the demography of Nigeria shows that even APC, PDP, whatever parties they are still small compared to the rest of the population that do not belong to any political party. So Nigeria has a problem of mass participation in politics, generally. And that's what you see that reflects itself in the political parties. So as more people enter into active political participation, then you will see that the parties become stronger. It is the people that make the party strong. It is not the party itself.
Okay, so why do we see these smaller political parties propping up when it's election period like this?
There are three reasons for that. One is that generally our interaction with political parties is basically as a tool for electioneering. So if there is not an election, people will say, okay, why are we dealing with political parties? Mm. Secondly, both the people and the media do not cover these parties that are not in power because they don't have the resources to invite journalists and all of that. And Nigerian journalists like to be invited. They do not take the initiative on their own to find out what's going on. So even when these small parties are doing activities, they're not being covered. So because they don't have a governor who can go somewhere and demolish one place and make the boss, they don't have chairmen fighting each other openly. So you don't see. And if you look at the coverage of political parties, even the ones that are well covered, their internal processes are not covered.
Now, is it that difficult to create awareness and be relevant, in a system like this where developments, or I would say technology, has changed the face of a lot of things? For instance, the digital platform is a very important tool that can be used by political parties to be relevant. I mean, not only until when it's time for elections.
They are doing it. What we are discussing, doing something and covering it at two different things. If you switch off your camera now, as far as the public is concerned, I'm not in your studio. So the public only knows that I'm in your studio because your camera is capturing it. There are a lot of things being done by these political parties. Even if you look at litigation in the courts and all of that, you know that they're very active. But they're not being covered. And that's not the only reason why they're not known, but it's part of it, that they're not being covered. And if the media, as you have done now, tries to cover them, in the United States and other countries, it will have been the job of the NBC and INEC. Usually, you give equal visibility to parties. So if you cover if you have 10 political parties, you give them almost equal access.
But I think that
for coverage,
beyond the coverage, I mean, yes, if you want to be covered, yeah, you have to give reasons why you should be covered, isn't it?
That's not what the law says. The law says that
you have to be engaged in activities. You have to be seen. You have to be visible. You have to be active. We need to see that there are members in the party. We need to see that you are driving certain agendas. But in most cases, what happens is that, we don't see these political parties until when it is time for elections.
Let us follow the law. The law is that by the Constitution, it's the duty.
Agreed. The law has spelled that out. As a matter of fact, the NBC Code, yes, has also said that there should be, political parties should be given, fair hearing, yes, balanced, and all of that. We know that. Okay. But I am talking about the engagement by the political parties themselves. No. What are they doing?
Then let me tell you what I see.
Level, in terms of, say, for instance, take advantage of the internet space.
What I see them doing, is that they are growing their membership. Many of them are fighting for their sustenance of survival because they have INEC has a new policy that they can deregister them. And even the deregistered ones, I have more than 4 or 5 political parties that are deregistered and are interacting with me. So I see that they are active. Of course, in every aspect of it, for example, internally, the political parties need to be stronger. They need to do more activities. They need to reach more groups. And they need to bury some of the minor differences that they have and fuse together to become stronger. At the same time, every other person in the polity still has a duty. And that's why I emphasize that to the media. Just like you are doing now, we couldn't have barged into your studio. You said, come to our studio, come and discuss what you're doing. If more of that is done, more people will see. But if you go around to the grassroots, even the so-called big political parties, they are not that active. But because they are occupying government space and media space, it looks like they are active. But if you go down below to the ward level, to the local government level, you really don't see that they have impact there. And that's why when we have elections, like we had in Anambra recently, About 8% of the population came out to vote.
Isn't that an opportunity for the smaller parties?
It's an
the fact
opportunity.
that the big parties are not very active at the grassroots. Isn't that an opportunity?
It's an opportunity
to go and make your case and sell yourself out there to the people.
And that's what we are doing now. You would see that as we are working towards 2023, you will see that the smaller parties are more active than the bigger parties. Also because bigger parties are trying to manipulate each other at the national level to try to rig their conventions ahead. But we are reaching out to these people of Nigeria. There is no village, hamlet, local government, ward, polling unit now that you will not find activities. The only thing I want to dispel is the notion that we just started last week. No. I have been involved with these political parties for the past 2 years. And 2 years ago was like 3.5 years to the election time. So these activities have been on. You will have noticed many groups meeting and talking and try to see how they can fuse together. There are two things we need to understand. Politics and political parties should reflect the division in society and the thought processes of different people in society. So you cannot have everybody in one big party.
There are those who believe that some of these political parties are just like stooges to big parties or to big political parties. They are just merely used as platforms to divide, votes, and that they are being bought in most cases. Because sometimes, truly, if you look at the processes, you find that, weeks to elections, you hear, okay, the candidate of so-and-so party has decided he's stepping down and that all his supporters should support Mr. A or should support Mr. B. If you look at all of that, how would you respond to some of these things, some of these beliefs or thinking by people?
Yeah, I see that. First, there's a lot of misconception in that area. There's some aspect that is very true. And it's because of the political party formation culture. First, know what we are doing now. What we are doing now is to make all of that to go away, which is that a political party which exists today exists for the objective for which it is set up. And when you are interacting with a political party, don't look at them as the same. Some are set up for single issues. And all over the world, you'll find some political party, Green Party, whatever party. Some parties are formed for single issues. Some parties are formed for discussing the issue of restructuring. So they may not even be interested in contesting election under this constitution because their own view is that everything needs to be restructured. So if you know why a political party is formed, then you can know whether they are meeting the objective or not. So,
okay, some school of thought have actually said that the number of political parties you have indicates the strength of your democracy. Is that really true?
It's not a Catholic expression that is true because it's, for example, some societies, given their history, they need very strong parties. If you see a country like Germany, because of their propensity to go to war in every generation, they want strong parties. And because there are different people in that country, so they want a party that brings them together. At the same time, if you look at a country like Switzerland, because the aim of the country is not to have one identity. It is to have people living separately but in peace. So they have parties that are splintered. If you go to Belgium, you will see that the Walloons don't want to have the same party as the Fleming because that party will break up. So they have different things. So you have to study your history. In Nigeria, our history is that our parties tend to be regional. So from independence to date, our parties tend to be regional. This is the first time that the parties are not regional. They are nationalists. And to have a nationalistic party or nationalist party requires a lot of resources because it's easy for Igala people to sit down in Ida and form Igala Progressive Party. They can interact among themselves, but we don't want that anymore. We want to have a political party that's present in 774 local governments. It's a very difficult undertaking. If I said the Daily Trust now should have a branch in every local government in the country, the company may have very serious difficulties. So that is what we are trying to do. If you look at INEC guidelines, you must be present in every place. So we are assisting these parties now to see that they can combine together and be a nationalist party and a nationwide party, and then we start to work towards interacting with the people and getting, but it's not easy to run 36 offices and all of that.
All right. Now, at the heart of that
Yes.
is funding.
Yes.
For these political parties. I tend to believe that it's part of the reasons why we don't hear anything about them until when it's time for elections.
Yes.
How does political parties raise funds, for their activities, and and then how do we know that they are not just waiting to be in power and then they begin to use state funds to run their activities?
Political parties should have no problem with funding. If a political party has problem in funding, there's a problem in its formation. Because churches, mosques, town union, all these are also associations, and they don't have this amount of crisis. It's that the members have to believe in their party. People join political parties so that the party can give them money. Whereas nobody joins a church so that the church can give them money. Nobody joins a mosque so that the mosque can give them money. So nobody joins a town union so that town union can give them money. So we are trying to build a political party that people believe in. That people believe that this political party is where I can go and participate in the future of my country and making decisions, and I need to make contribution like we used to have in the past. So parties like Northern People's Congress, Action Group, NCNC, NEPU, even up to PRP, UPN days, NPN, they never had problem with money. Because the first thing you do is you apply to join, you pay your membership fee, and if there's any development levy, you put your...
Does the average voter in Nigeria understand that? Does he understand that there is a part that I need to play in making this political party strong? Because from what I see, people just join political parties merely because, they want appointment, they want to be recognized, they want their own share of the national cake and the likes of them. But I do not see much of the aspect of, okay, we want to run this political party, we will fund it, ourselves, we will seek other means of raising funds and all of that.
That's what we are doing now. We didn't do it in the past, and that's why we found out we have a lopsided political system, because the parties that had the first access to power started using that access to grow their own party, and everybody raised up their hand and said, well, we give up. But now we're not doing so. People like us are contributing to the party, more people. When I do activities now in my campaign, I notice that people tend to make their own contribution. So it is the job of leadership. If the only thing we contribute to this process is to introduce politics the way it should be done properly, reorganize the political parties properly, de-emphasize the influence of INEC so that the parties don't get run like parastatals, which INEC is regulating them. We take the party back to the people, and then we let the agenda of the people reflect in what the party pursues. In that way, people will say, okay, it is my idea that this party is running, let me make contribution. There are many things we've done so far, which people in the past thought could not be done without spending a lot of money. But we are not spending a lot of money. So we should also remember that Nigerians want to participate, they want to give. They only don't want to be made a fool of. Okay. It's not as if Nigerians don't give. But why will I give my money and time to a process that is meant for the coronation of one person? Okay, and it's not collective. So we are changing that, and people are responding to that.
Okay, so would you say a lot has changed with the way smaller political parties were formed in the First and Second Republic and then now?
In the First Republic, the parties were organic. You didn't need to have a formal registration. All you needed to do was give notice that letterhead, and then you participate in the election. If you win, you are a party. If you lose, that's the end. In the Second Republic, we had FEDECO, which now started introducing, because the military at that time thought, look, we need to guide the formation of parties. I think it was only NAP, by National Action Party, by Tuji Braithwaite, that was able to form. The other parties were the parties formed after the 77 Constitutional Assembly. They all got formed in 1978. But right now, what we have is that because of the case that Khalifa Yemi took to court, it was made open that anybody can form a political party, you don't have to pay any fee and all of that. So many were formed. But now is the time for hard work, because you form a political party, you need to take it round. I've gone around many of the states now in the course of what I'm doing, and I'm going around and I'm saying that the people are there. There's nowhere you go and to propagate the idea of your party, and you don't have people waiting for you. So the leadership in building political parties, leadership in building from ground up, not just looking at 6 months of the election, let me go to a few media houses and do morning shows, and now I'm a candidate. No. What we are trying to do now is take it from the polling unit up and try to beat things up. The only thing we've learned, which is for strategic reasons, is that when we go out in the media, we try not to telegraph most of our techniques because it's a competition, and those who have the currency now, if you are telegraphing what you are doing, they can try to counter it. So let them be laughing at us. Then we will find out, just like the NSAS people surprise them, that's how we're going to surprise them on election day. But we have learned the lesson that just printing a letterhead, calling your friends and say, we're a political party is not enough. You need to get to the people, and more so now, the people are actually hurting. There are real issues, that life and death issues, and welfare issues, security issues, unemployment issues, community versus community issues, that and then young people being alienated, trying to leave the country, all sorts of problems. So if you go out now to engage people, they have more to tell you than you have to tell them. So we are on a listening tour, listening to people, and try to fuse their opinion and solution into a national mesh so that we can see, why is this country having a high temperature? Why is this country almost delirious in terms of tension? It's because of these little issues facing people that you wonder, how can this person be facing this and they are still in the country?
Okay, this is more personal than technical. As a presidential hopeful, could you talk to us about your chances?
Well, my chances are just about the chances of any other person, which is that you don't become president just because you feel like it. You become president only when you reach out to your compatriots and you let them understand why you want to be president and what you want to do. If they buy into it and they are sufficiently motivated, you become president. There's nothing magical about it. They will go to the polling booth, they will vote for you. Before then, they will talk to other people to vote for you. If, on the other hand, they just look at you and realize that this person is just enjoying the sound of his own voice, or he wants to see his picture in the press, or he's not serious, and he's not he's not taking a lead towards leadership, people will just look at you and they will show no interest. Remember that one of us has to replace Muhammadu Buhari. He has to be one of us, a Nigerian. He has to be someone who has the level of talent that we have. It has to be someone who puts himself forward. So if we are 200 million, as we anecdotally say we are, and 200 million are not going to become president, maybe only about 60 million or so of that age. Out of the 60 million, maybe 60 will come out. So from this, when the 60 comes out, you are supposed to burst into tears. Because after this, the president must be one of those 60. And if none of them, or majority of them, are not that good, then you know your future is not bright.
Okay,
so that is the reason why we have to put people in who actually can do the job.
Okay, now finally, before we let you go, Nigeria has experienced very difficult times, especially in recent past. If you look at the numbers, they are not looking good. Economically, they are not looking good. In terms of security, we're dealing with quite a lot. Does it scare you? Are these things that you think you can handle?
Yes, there are things I can handle. You see, I feel sad about the effect on the people, but I'm not intimidated at the problem, because the problem has only one source and one solution: good governance. What we're having in Nigeria, we've not had good governance for a long time. But that lack of good governance, which we can call bad governance, has also degenerated into no governance at all. So that the street look unpoliced, the government looks unadministered. So even from the highest level, you could see failure. So you don't have to even go outside the State House or government lodges or anywhere. If you go to the ministry, you will see, if you have relatives or everybody has a relative in the civil service, ask them. It's like that. Each person goes to work just for the sake of going to work. There is no program they are involved in. There's nothing exciting them in the morning when they're going to work. That's your government. If I come outside your your street now and abandon my car on the street, I can guarantee you nobody is going to pick the car up. Except somebody is looking for how to collect 20 naira from me. Okay, why do you park your car here? If I say, please don't worry, take it, you will leave the car there. So if you drive and there's an accident, then you have corpses on the road. There's no local government nearby coming to pick. Governance is not hard, but you have to do it. So governance is like sweeping your house. You don't need record science to sweep your house. But once you take a broom and sweep it, the house will not be swept.
Right.
So governance, the totality of governance is doing simple things, rendering civil services, getting water to who needs water, making sure that a teacher does not have to worry about their salary. They worry about just their teaching, that they can get to work and come back. When you wake up in the morning and see civil servants trying to go to work in our best city, Abuja is our best city, and people are having the worst kind of life. So imagine what will happen in Nampa somewhere, or in Malumfachi somewhere, or in Ede or somewhere. So it is not that governance is so hard. It is that people who are incumbents are not doing governance.
Okay.
So the fact that somebody is occupying an office doesn't mean they are running that office.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on Daybreak this morning and for sharing your thoughts with us and your ambition with us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Yes, we look forward to engaging further. All right, now we've been speaking with Prince Adewale Adebayo. He is a presidential hopeful from the platform of a multi-party coalition for a new Nigeria. Thank you again for coming.
It's a pleasure.
All right.